And we're back.
Yep. We're back.
So we watched a couple movies last night. One we liked, one we didn't.
Yeah. The last episode we didn't really say what movies we were going to watch the next time, or we actually didn't know at the time.
I don't think we knew, yeah.
So we ended up watching Roman Polanski's 1972 film What? And Woody Allen's also 1972 film Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask.
So basically we watched a sex comedy and a Fall Out Boy song.
Yeah. I guess the initial idea behind this was to just do a problematic episode because,
because that's something we care about.
Exactly.
Expend a lot of emotional time talking about in our personal lives. If you want to know what I think about the Woody Allen thing, just watch that Rick Worley YouTube video. Just Google it. I'm not going to put it in the show notes. Joe might.
Yeah.
But I also don't touch the YouTube channel, so
yeah, look that shit up. I ain't putting it in the description.
It's out there. I don't think he needs our help.
Yeah, no, he's doing all right.
Yeah, and actually, this was pretty timely because there was that. It was an interview that this French magazine published of. It was an interview between Emmanuel Sagnier, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I don't know. And Samantha Geimer, who was the person that Polanski was convicted of having sex with back in '77 when she was 13. And she has maintained since pretty much then that she basically forgave Polanski and wants everyone to drop it. And think of that what you will. That's all I'll be saying on that topic.
Yeah, I don't really know much about the Polanski stuff. If that's what she said, then you know what? Who cares?
Yeah, she published a memoir back in 2014 called The Girl. I read part of it. It's pretty good. If you want to look into it, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think we'll start with What, because I think we have less to say about What.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah. So doing the good old reading the Wikipedia when I don't actually have the Wikipedia pulled up. But when I was looking at it, one of the production notes on it was the producer, some Italian guy. And for context, it's basically Polanski's spin on the Italian sex comedy, which was a genre that was big in the 60s and the 70s, around the same time as the giallo and the spaghetti western and stuff like that. And the producer who owned the villa that they shot the film in, Polanski shows him the cut of the film, and the producer says, "What?" And that's the name of the film. That's it.
Yeah. It was a very strange movie. I don't think either of us particularly liked it.
I think I liked about 20 minutes of it. There's the opening part, which reminded me a lot of the House on the Edge of the Park's opening, actually. I don't know if you caught on to that.
It was pretty similar.
Which is another Italian genre movie, that makes sense. It opens with a couple people in a car, and then they attempt to rape this woman, and she runs away, winds up at this villa, and then the rest of the movie takes place at the villa. And if nothing else, Polanski knows how to shoot a single location. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel for
compliments
of the film. But another movie he did, Venus and Fur, he did it in 2013, who also had Emmanuel Sagnier, who I mentioned earlier, who is his wife. I don't know if that was clear. It is kind of a chamber piece set at a theater. Also decent, not great. He's kind of a director that like his best movies are like fucking masterpieces, and his bad movies are like, what the fuck is that? And it's not so much hit or miss. It's just like I think he makes like career kind of goes like he makes one really good movie, couple interesting ones, a bad one, and then like banger, 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 bad. Like it's that kind of career.
it was kind of interesting because when we were watching What the other day, you had mentioned while we were watching it, you said that the movie he made directly after What was Chinatown.
Yeah.
And I think your immediate words after that were, "Thank God he made Chinatown."
God. I think the direction goes. He did a Fearless Vampire Killers, which was like a spoof of the Hammer horror films, which I haven't seen. It's supposed to be kind of bad, but like kind of fun. And then it was no, I think that was earlier on. But in '71, he did Macbeth, the tragedy of Macbeth, which I've seen. It was produced by Hugh Hefner, of all people. And it was the first movie Polanski made after Sharon Tate died. Was murdered by Manson. And it's a super violent, like, horrific adaptation of Macbeth. It's pretty, like, faithful. And it's like one of those Macbeth adaptations that's, like, straight from Shakespeare. So it's got the Shakespearean dialogue. So it's a little bit of a tough watch, mostly just because it's, I don't want to say boring because that makes it sound makes it sound like I think it's bad. That's not what I mean. It's just and it was Playboy produced it. I think they only produced like 3 or 4 films in the '70s, and Macbeth was one of them. And then after Macbeth, he makes a sex comedy, which is weird that Playboy didn't produce that one. Now that I'm thinking about it. And yeah, it's not very good. Not a really good movie. But it, of course, we're talking about What now, not Macbeth. Last compliment I can give it is it looks really good.
Yeah, that's, he knows how to shoot a location, and the movie looks.
He got a good DP. There's even like a shot that's like straight out of Rosemary's Baby, which you probably wouldn't have caught on to because you haven't seen Rosemary's Baby.
No.
But it was, I think it was the moment when like the dude in the wheelchair, whoever the fuck it is, I have no idea. I don't even think Polanski knew.
Couldn't tell you any single character's name in that entire movie.
It was the guy in the wheelchair that was diabetic and then like asked to see her tits and dies.
yeah. That's the plot of the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
The end of the plot.
That's the end of it's like the end of the plot, and then the movie goes on for like 20 more minutes, I think.
A good 10, I'd say. A good 10.
Oh, well, it felt like 20.
She runs away, and then there's like a pimp also at this villa, and he chases her down, and then she like hops in the back of a truck of pigs, and she's naked.
Played by the pimp is played by, I think his name is Marcello Mastroianni. He's the star of 8½, the Fellini movie. It's pretty good. It's really good. All of the like New Hollywood kind of directors were big fans of that movie. It's about a filmmaker, so like it's pretty clear why people like it.
Right.
I probably have to watch it again because it's very what's the word? Can't think of the word. Fantastical, but that's not really the word I'm looking for. I don't know. Can't think of the word. 8½, good movie. What not?
The best part of the movie was the end, because
Yeah.
she is like yelling in the rain at this guy as she's in a truck that's being driven away, and she's basically like, he's like, why do you have to leave right now? And she's like, well, it's the end of the movie. He's like, what? And she's like, yes,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the movie. What?
That's the movie. That's what it's called. And it was that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
I suppose the part where she revealed her private area to Mr. whatever the fuck his name was, and then he died.
Yeah.
His last words were his last word was hallelujah, and then he died.
He's literally me.
It was not the most enjoyable viewing, I'd have to say. There were moments where I laughed, but I don't know.
Yeah. About the first 20-30 minutes is kind of interesting. If you're like a Polanski completist, like I unfortunately am, you'll have to watch it. If you're not, don't do what Joe did and torture yourself and watch it.
Yeah, the only other Polanski movie I've seen was The Pianist, so this was a bit of whiplash compared to that.
Yeah, so that's what...
Oh, damn, we're done with what already?
I mean, unless you got anything else to say, I didn't like the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there isn't really much to say if you didn't really like it. Apparently, this is according to IMDb. When Polanski was being asked to direct Chinatown, the producer Robert Evans was trying to convince him to direct it, and he basically said whatever the movie What made in its opening week, he would pay him as the salary for directing Chinatown. But apparently, according to this "Did you know" section on the trivia part of IMDb, the film grossed $64 on its first week. So that's all. That's the only other point I have to make, I guess.
Old Roman's probably like, eek. Yeah, Robert Evans, he was the head of production at Paramount from like, I want to say 67 to like sometime in the 80s. And he's kind of it's kind of like Alan Ladd Jr. At Fox, 20th Century Fox, who was one of those like big studio heads during the new Hollywood era that's pretty big. There's a movie, I think he wrote a memoir, and there's a documentary called The Kid Stays in the Picture. It's about Robert Evans' life, and it's really good. There's also, if you're a Chinatown fan, we might actually do an episode on Chinatown, I don't know. There's a book called The Big Goodbye by Sam Wasson, and it's just the story of how Chinatown got made and why something like that will never happen in Hollywood again. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it always comes back to there's this great thing, and it's never gonna happen again. That's a running theme with everything, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think this is why so many people are obsessed with like post-apocalyptic stuff and end times and Fallout and Hunger Games and everything, because I think there's this general feeling of an epilogue of like culture
Yeah,
that we live in.
it's like the tweet I made the other day that this creator clash bullshit I'm seeing all over Twitter is a sign of the end times.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and I posted in Culinary Nihilism, where I think, who was it, James, that like posted the picture of the McDonald's wrapper, and I just called it end times behavior.
Oh, it was the person that took a bite of a fucking of a hash brown through the wrapper. Yeah, it's hell.
Yeah, so Polanski's What is a bad movie. Don't watch it, or do, and suffer the consequences. I don't know, or maybe you're into that. I don't know. But like as far as sex comedies go, there's The Last American Virgin, which is really good. Porky's, which is the classic example. Really, the opening of Carrie is basically a sex comedy. Yeah, it's a cool genre.
Yeah, to be honest, the sex comedy genre is not something I've particularly, dived into, in my time.
I haven't dived too much into it, but I'd like to. Another classic example, which I haven't actually watched yet, is the Animal House. Is kind of the quintessential sex comedy, as is Porky, The Last American Virgin. It's a cool genre. It's a type of like coming of age, buildings Roman kind of genre generally.
Not this one.
And not this one at all. The Italian aspect is just the kind of the sex part.
Yeah.
But yeah. Woody Allen. It's what's the name of it again? Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Too Afraid to Ask. Which, like the Italian film, Your Vice is the Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, just sounds like a Fall Out Boy song. And I think more movies should have titles like that.
Yeah.
So it's one of the earlier funny ones. If you've ever seen Stardust Memories, there's a joke about that in there. Of Woody Allen's early career before, I think Annie Hall was the first one he makes that's not strict, like a not that it's not a comedy, but that it's not like a series of sketches, basically. I think, but this is one of the series of sketches, and it's based on a book. I think you looked a little bit more into this than I did, but.
Yeah, it's based off of a book by the same title.
Yeah.
That is by a psychiatrist. It's like it's described as a sex manual, which is a hell of a
Kama
term.
Sutra for nerds.
Yeah. Remember when you used to buy your video games at the store, and then you'd crack that case open and you'd read the sex manual on the way home?
Yeah, dude.
That's what people read in the 60s before video games. They didn't read the game manual, they read the sex manual. And that says a lot about society. Yeah.
The first segment, I don't remember the name of it. It's do aphrodisiacs work? And this is kind of the structure of it. I think there's 7 segments. They're all about 18 to 20 minutes long. And they each ask a question that I guess is in the manual. And it's all sketches based on that. I saw a Letterboxd review from the filmmaker Eugene Kotlyrenko describe it as Woody Allen's best pre-Gordon Willis cinematography, which, if you haven't seen Manhattan, it's one probably top 3, top 5 Woody Allen for me, of the ones I've seen. And its cinematography was by Gordon Willis, who was big in the 70s. I think he did The Godfather and All the President's Men, Manhattan. He was really prolific. So the first segment, do aphrodisiacs work? It takes place kind of in olden times, and it has the fucking funniest sight gag I've seen in a while of Woody Allen dressed as his court jester, but like he's carrying this like a joystick. I don't know like what exactly it is, but it's got like a beanbag head of Woody Allen animated with the jester hood on. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he was like the medieval Jeff Dunham. With that.
Yeah.
The medieval Jeff Dunham
like
court
30
jester.
years before Jeff Dunham.
Exactly.
Yeah. This was your first Woody Allen film, right?
Yeah, it was. I have not seen any of his movies either. Well, I guess I have seen one of Roman Polanski's, but I've seen none of Woody Allen's. I suppose I have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, with
you know,
as far as what, well, going back to what, like what and The Pianist, I would say are like not very representative of Polanski's career.
Yeah.
I mean, The Pianist is good, but like and that's the one he won the Academy Award for, controversially.
Right.
But I think his best work was already behind him by the time The Pianist came.
Right.
So
I mean,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, and with Woody Allen, like I was not expecting to enjoy like the segment like structure as much as I did on this one. I tend to not like those movies as well. Like there will be like one or two segments that I find are funny, like Kentucky Fried Movie, that John Landis movie that I think one of the guys in the server showed us one time. It was good. There's a bit about an adrenaline junkie, which is hilarious. But as far as those movies go, I tend to not really go for them. I like if you're going to do like a spoof or a parody, I like it to go all the way through, like Spaceballs or Robin Hood Men in Tights. And this first segment actually reminded me a lot of Robin Hood Men in Tights, the Mel Brooks movie. And yeah, it was really cool. They even do this whole. I have a feeling Mel Brooks just straight up like watched this segment before making Robin Hood Men in Tights, because there's a bit in Do Aphrodisiac's Work where Woody is trying to unlock the chastity belt on the woman, and that's like there's a whole sequence in Robin Hood Men in Tights that does that as well. What do you think about that first segment?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was I think it was probably my second favorite of the segments.
Yeah.
The scene where he gets his hand caught between her ass and the chastity belt, and the king is he has heard the racket he was making trying to get it off of her, and he's like approaching the room, and it gets to the point where he's just standing next to her and he's just like, oh hi. It was
very goofy, and cartoonish. It's really great. It's I don't know, a lot of the people that I interact with that like comedy, I think they would do well to watch, especially Woody Allen's early work, just to see that comedy is supposed to be just like fucking stupid.
Yeah, I like how they brought back the gag with his little Jeff Dunham puppet at the end when the king has him beheaded, and you just see the little puppet head fall into the basket.
Yeah,
it was pretty great.
And the second segment is fucking insane.
You know,
what was it called?
I said that the Do Aphrodisiac's Work was my second favorite one, but like as I'm like recollecting what happened in all of them, it's like I don't even know if I could properly rank them. The What is Sodomy one was the most absurd thing I'd ever seen.
Yes.
Where it's got Gene Wilder in it, and he's like the main character of this particular skit. He's like a doctor, and this like Armenian guy shows up and he tells him that he fucks sheep, or a particular sheep rather, not
this Armenian guy who looks like a fat John Stossel. We were talking about last night.
Yeah. It was like digging away at me that I just had to say it. I was like, this guy kind of looks like John Stossel. Horrible.
Yeah, so then like Gene Wilder, the doctor, basically cucks the Armenian for his sheep.
Gene Wilder cucks Armenian John Stossel for a sheep. That is
POV.
No.
So apparently this early on this movie was like censored in Ireland because of a specific line in that segment. Yeah. Removing both a bestiality reference, the greatest lay I ever had, referring to a sheep, and a man having sex with a loaf of rye bread. And that's in another segment.
That is in another segment, yeah.
Yeah, it what is sodomy? One, I thought that was just like anal sex. But I guess it has to do with bestiality.
Yeah, apparently Christians kind of just, lumped all that stuff together because Sodom was just, a city of perverts or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I think like there was like angels that were coming down and like fucking humans or something.
Yeah. We gotta bring back the term sodomite, by the way. I really like that term. I was playing BioShock Infinite recently, and the whole premise with that game is that it's like this floating city in the sky, and they're all very religious, and they refer to the land below them as the Sodom below, and it's that shit goes
awesome.
hard, I have to say. It's a hell of a game.
So the next segment I think was my least favorite. It's the one that I kind of zoned out of.
I think I did the same.
Why do some women have trouble reaching an orgasm? And
it's a very typical thing for men to zone out on that particular question,
Yeah, exactly.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, so on and so forth.
That was what do we call that? A knee slapper.
Yeah, that's a joke your boomer uncle would make, and then slap you on the shoulder and laugh really hard.
And then you're just like awkwardly laugh along.
Yeah.
A little scared, to be quite honest.
Exactly. Scared.
Yeah. So it says that this is an homage to certain Italian films, which was kind of a weird serendipity with which was kind of a different homage to Italian films, or maybe not an homage, just kind of a version of it.
Yeah, that was the crossover point we did not expect. When Woody Allen suddenly started speaking Italian.
Which is weird because what's in English mostly.
Exactly.
But anyway. And it's about a woman that can only orgasm when she's being fucked in public. It sounds more interesting than it is.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly there wasn't too many bits in that one that I found to be like laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, I think these kind of middle bits were kind of the low point for me.
Certainly ended on a bang.
Yeah, the next one is Are Transvestites Homosexuals? The title is better than the segment, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think the laugh I just had at the title of the segment was actually the same number of laughs I had throughout the segment.
Yes.
It was
I also zoned out during this one, but I think it's about this guy that like cross dresses and then like gets mugged and they take his purse. I don't know. It was kind of dumb. I was like, swing and a miss. All right. And then the next one is what are sex perverts? This and I think the last one were my favorites. Which
Yes.
this one is entirely a game show, and it's like a black and white game show called it's a parody of What's My Line,
Yeah.
and it's called What's My Perversion. And the contestants are the guest. So basically, how the fake game show works is like the guy tells the host what his perversion is. The first guy is like likes to expose himself on trains or something, and then the audience knows that, and it shows on the screen, and the four panelists have to guess it. One of the four panelists is Regis Philbin playing himself.
Yeah, that was. I was looking forward to seeing Regis Philbin when I saw his name in the opening credits. I was like, how is he going to fit into this? And then him playing himself was probably the best way he could have been in this because it was pretty great. Yeah, I have not actually watched. I think I've seen clips of What's My Line, the original show that it's parodying. And I think specifically the clips that I've seen of that were like celebrities where they had to like guess. I think they had to guess who the celebrity was.
Maybe
based off of like them describing something. It's honestly, I've seen so little of it that I'm just sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about right now. But yeah, it's a thing I'm at least familiar with in its concept. I really liked how they actually filmed it to look like kind of like a show that would have appeared on a TV. In the 60s.
I guess it's called a black and white kinescope style. According to the Wikipedia here.
Yeah.
We just read Wikipedia on podcasts. That's just a thing.
Yeah, just read Wikipedia to fill in the gaps in your knowledge when you're talking about some shit.
And everything else you just like make up on the spot.
Yeah.
And people believe you because you're saying it.
Exactly.
Spreading me when I spread misinformation online.
Yeah, put that gif of Patrick like rubbing his hands together maliciously.
Yeah. And then there's a second segment of the game show where a rabbi comes in and gets to act out his bondage fetish on screen.
Hell of a scene.
It ends with his wife, they're of course Jewish, in case that wasn't clear, has to sit at his feet and eat pork. Just fucking psychotic.
It was definitely a what the fuck segment. I liked how he tells them, you know, what his perversion is, and they try to get Regis Philbin to come up and tie him up. And the guy's like, no, it has to be a woman.
And he's like, well, we've got two fine young ladies here. Why don't you go?
Yeah, exactly.
The penultimate segment, throwing a big word there, are the findings of doctors and clinics who do sexual research and experiments accurate?
That one was also really funny. Like the final three, there was like a point. We liked the first two.
And
segments, and then there was like
3 and 4 were kind of duds to me.
Yeah,
and then the last 3 are really good.
Yeah, it's like it's ramping up to the final segment.
But this one is a kind of a parody of the. It starts as a parody of an Ed Wood movie called Bride of the Monster, and I don't know. The first part of it anyway, and it stars John Carradine, one of the Carradines, who is a sex researcher, and he has a bunch of people like held up in his office, including Igor, who he did something to. I don't know.
That segment was pretty great because literally every experiment this guy was doing was just the most like
depraved monster shit.
depraved and monstrous or just completely incoherent thing you've ever heard of in your life. Like there, as we mentioned earlier, there's a part where there's just a guy fucking a giant piece of bread.
Yes. And that's the part that got it censored in Ireland, not the part where he opens the door and there's a bunch of Cub Scouts, like a bunch of kids. And he says, "Oh, so what we're going to do to you, the journalist that comes with the Woody Allen character, is we're going to record your brain activity while you get gang raped by a bunch of children."
Oh my god! It's stuff that
part was fine.
Yeah, it's stuff you hardly want to repeat out loud.
Yeah.
Let alone write down for a script and film for a movie. It was my favorite part was obviously at the end when the giant tit escapes. And
and the second half of this movie is like a parody of all the giant monster movies of the 50s.
Yes.
So we were talking about Them, the Ant movie.
Yeah, that was on TCM the other day. I recorded that, so I'm gonna watch that soon.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
I got a whole list of movies from this other server. We were doing a round robin, like recommending movies, and I got so far behind. I got a bunch of shit to watch. So it looks like some pretty good movies too. Anyway, yeah, I like this segment a lot. It was really cool. He fights off the boob, and the way they capture it is to put it in a giant bra, naturally.
Yep. And then the guys like asking, like they usually travel in pairs.
Yeah,
just dumb.
Stupid.
The dumbest, most obvious joke you could make.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Let's make it."
And it's like good.
Yeah,
it's funny. And so the last segment, which is the best segment, hands down
the best,
called "What Happens During Ejaculation," and oh my god, I just realized, I think this is where that Steven Hillenburg would have gotten that SpongeBob episode from. You know what I'm talking about?
You're right. Holy shit.
We forgot his name!
Steven Hillenburg was inspired by this film. So I guess that too.
I mean, this movie, these segments are basically like a fucking SpongeBob episodes. Like,
yeah, I suppose. In a way.
I mean, especially this last one. It's a NASA-like mission control center in a man's brain as he's like hooking up with this girl after a date. And the Woody Allen character is a really nervous and neurotic sperm cell. When he's about to eject, like, I'm not going out there. What if he's wearing a condom and we just like slam our heads against?
He's like, what if he's masturbating? I could end up on the ceiling. It was a great segment. And when we were watching it, I visually compared it to THX 1138.
Yes, yeah.
Which is an insane thing to compare this to.
The two things I get out of this segment is THX 1138 and SpongeBob. For anyone that doesn't know, there's a SpongeBob episode where Squidward makes SpongeBob a fine dining guy instead of a fry cook. And so he says to him, I want you to forget about everything except fine dining and breathing. And then it goes into SpongeBob's brain. It's this kind of similar situation.
Yeah, like a mission control in his brain.
We gotta dump everything except for fine dining. Everything? And has like one of the best fucking jokes in SpongeBob that's like he's like, what are you doing? What am I paying you for? You're not paying me. We don't even exist. We're just a clever visual metaphor to personify the abstract concept of thought. One more crack like that and you're out of here. No, please. I have 3 kids.
That sequence is pretty great. I like how at the end of it, it's like they really did throw out everything except for fine dining and breathing, because he gets asked what his name.
Memories.
He gets asked what his name is, and he can't remember his own name. They burned his name from his own memory.
I forgot his name.
But I liked the to get back to the actual movie we're talking about.
Right. Everything leads back to SpongeBob if you're of a certain age.
Right. It seems that we constantly go back to George Lucas and Steven Hillenburg.
Yeah, the two biggest artistic influences in our life.
Yeah. It always goes back. There's always something you can compare to Steven Hillenburg or
which is why we actually do have to make the thumbnail the "you what?"
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The fish from that fucking episode. I particularly liked the fact that Burt Reynolds was like the mission. He was like the guy in charge of the operation.
No, he was like the first mate guy.
Oh, he was? Shit, I don't.
Yeah.
Oops.
I think so. Unless I'm like not. I don't know who Burt Reynolds is. Let me look it up. Let's confirm it here.
The mustache. He's referred to as the sperm switchboard chief.
Yeah, he's the switchboard guy. He's not the head guy. Is the one that's like, he's like calling the eyes or whatever to see something.
Right. Brain control.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that like Tom said was from Twilight Zone or something.
He said he was in an episode of the Twilight Zone. Yeah.
But yeah, this is by far the best segment and the reason to watch this movie, to be quite honest with you. If you take nothing else from this movie, this segment is amazing. Yeah,
it's great. There's a part where they after the sperm make their paratrooper jump, as it were, and it's like they're like popping the corks and like celebrating in the brain, a successful mission, and there's like the guy that is responsible for paying attention to what she's saying. It's like there's like a whole bit about like one of the guys that's in the mission control of his brain is in charge of paying attention to a woman talking, which a horrific job, no doubt. It's like she says like that they should do it again, and he's like, hold on everybody, stop. We need to do this again. It reminded me of the sequence in Cabin in the Woods, where they think they've killed everyone. You've seen Cabin in the Woods, right?
No, I've seen parts of it, but I haven't watched it all the way through. I know the basic gist of it.
Yeah, where it's like it's like these Lovecraftian sort of gods that want to see horror movies, basically, and so it's like they're sacrificing people to appease them.
Right. Yeah.
And they think they've killed all of the characters, and they're all like celebrating in their like little bunker or whatever. And just on the monitors in the background, you can see like the final girl whose death is optional in horror movies, as we all know, just getting the shit kicked out of her by the fucking by one of the zombie people. So it's like that, because they're all celebrating like, oh yeah, we did it, and then like, hold on, no, we didn't do it. We have to we have to keep going here.
Yeah, there's a whole bit in there. There's a whole bit in there about them trying to keep his erection.
Yeah, the guys with the cranks.
Yeah, like these kind of like bottom of the Titanic, like sweatshop kind of guys.
It's like the war boys in Mad Max Fury Road trying to operate the elevator. Just insane.
Oh god, it's so good. I'm glad we ended with that one, and we didn't try to watch that movie first and watch What after. I don't think I could have finished What if we did that.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so don't watch what, and do watch everything you always wanted to know about sex, but were too afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, only what is available on Tubi, so
Yes, but everything that movie is on HBO Max if you have that. So
started saying the title and you're like, I'm not saying all that shit.
I'm not saying it again.
Everything. That's the name of the movie. Everything. It's
Woody Allen's Everything.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max, which
Yeah.
don't have here in Canada, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Although I think there is like a thing that is like
You're
the Canadian
like
equivalent.
third world ice country above us.
Fucking
Something.
Annoying how many like online services I hear about from you and other people, and then I like type it in and it's just like, this isn't available in your region yet, and I'm just like, oh, fucking
hell,
those bastard Reds. It's all their fucking fault.
Well, on that note, have a good night.
To you, the viewer.
Yeah. And you, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think we have an idea of what the next thing is going to be.
Yeah, a couple ideas floating around. Haven't narrowed in on a particular one yet. But
I don't think we'll continue. I don't think we'll always do like this is what we're doing next time kind of thing. I think it'll just kind of come as it comes.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
We're at the point now where every time we do this, we're like, not sure what we're doing next time, but it'll happen.
Yeah. I keep thinking we should like sit down and like make a calendar for it, and I just haven't felt like doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe after we hit the 10 episode mark and maybe like trying to get like actual guests on, which would be kind of cool.
It would be pretty neat.
Maybe then we would get like a calendar or something, because that would be kind of a logistical thing. But anyway, that's just some housekeeping, to quote Sam Harris at the end of this movie podcast.
I had forgotten about Sam Harris.
Most people have, I think.
I don't know if I could quote him on anything.
He would always start off the pod with like, oh God, how did it go? Welcome to the Waking Up Podcast. This is Sam Harris.
I called it the Going to Sleep Podcast because that fucking guy makes me fall asleep.
And then he's like, okay.
Yeah.
First, a little housekeeping. And it's very good, like ASMR to make you fall asleep. I did it several times as a teenager.
To bring it back to Steven Hillenburg again, it's like Solitude in E minor. It's listening to Sam Harris.
Yeah, I think we will call it there.
Yeah, end it on a SpongeBob reference. That sounds fine by me.